Welcome. Today is September 25th, 2003. Welcome to the My Favorite CPA Podcast. Today, we have a very special topic. Today, we are talking about small business. And so, I'm in small business. How do I know if or when that I need an accountant? Let's talk about that today. Because this comes up from time to time, again and again. And I'd like to give you some of my thoughts. There's probably more we could flesh out, but let's just jump right in here. So let's just say that, you have a side gig and you're working it every day, just like we talked about in a past episode. If you're working your small business every day, 40 hours a week, sooner or later, it may grow into kind of a real business. It grows out of being a baby business, and it's a real business. So once your business gets big enough, you may want to hire an accountant. And honestly, all accountants, close your ears. Maybe you relish the idea of delegating this responsibility to someone else because a bunch of bookkeeping, schmookkeeping, and paperwork, it sounds awful, right? And that's not uncommon to feel that way. Don't feel special. So the next thing that I would like to say is there's probably at least 10 different signs if your business hasn't quite crossed that line yet where you're ready to give up control. Here's 10 different signs for you to think about in terms of maybe I'm ready for an accountant. So let's look at number one. Let's say that you're starting a business. So if you're starting a business, accountants can help you with a lot of different things. They can teach you bookkeeping habits and processes. So when this happens, do this. And when this happens, do that. And don't do this and don't do that. That kind of stuff, right? So often accountants are well-versed in the complexities of running a business and can help you put systems and processes in place so that you don't end up with a huge piled up mess, which happens if you don't have advice and oversight. If you hire an accountant that specializes in small business, I think that they can help you keep track of certain things that you'll probably want to keep track of. Like when you're ready to start hiring employees, they can tell you, make sure you get this form, this form, this form, and this form, and here's what you want to do with those. Because those will be needed at tax time, for sure, and probably during the year if you have employees that go on payroll. Another thing that an accountant can help you with is when you're taking on new customers, they can help you think about the information that you are going to need from those customers to get them onboarded and integrated into your business. And so there may be some things that you want to standardize that every time that we get a new customer, we have them fill out this paperwork, which helps capture the information for the accounting system that's needed. Let's see. Other common things that accountants are very good at is, obviously taxes. So it would be making sure all of your information, your systems, and your processes flow right into your tax filing. Because if you do it the other way, if you just save things up, piled up junk in a box, what do you think happens at tax time? If it makes no accounting sense, if it just makes sense to you and you alone, if you at that time decide to hire a tax preparer, how are they going to make sense out of it and turn it into a tax return, right? So if you have someone guiding through, make sure you do this, this, and this, and always do it this way, and help you devise a system and a process that is going to make a huge mountain of difference. Another thing that accountants are good at would be managing inventory. Inventory can be a huge cash suck in any business. So if you're building up inventory, accountants can help you think about maybe what's the appropriate volume? How do you want to go about it? What should you inventory? What shouldn't you inventory? It's not to say that they have all the answers. After all, your business is your business, but if you have some of this advice and guidance, it can help you avoid some common potholes. And if you're dealing with an experienced accountant, they've worked with other business people. They know what can happen. They probably know, like, make sure you start going down this road and don't go down this road, because when you go down this road, you're going to end up with a huge problem, right? Also, we were talking about systems and processes. Obviously, one thing that's critically important is bookkeeping. Good habits create good results. So when it comes to bookkeeping and accounting, if you have processes that are broken down into every month we do this, 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 and this, and every week we do this and this, and this and this, and every day we do this, and we do that, and we do the other, and we do the other. So if you have a good accountant, they can help you work on the overall flow so that the information that you need to do the book work and do the accounting, it's all there. Because it's really hard to do book work and accounting when you don't have the underlying information. And on that note, think about this. If you have a good accountant, just because you have bookkeeping or an accounting system doesn't mean A, that you're using it properly, or B, that you necessarily understand what is it telling you. So a good accountant can help you not only use those processes to get information fed into the accounting system, into the bookkeeping system, but also analyze and get out in front of the flow and make sure things are working the way they should work. And then something that I think is probably high value is, once all the information is in the accounting system, what reports can I get out of the accounting system? What is it telling me? And, am I making money? Am I losing money? Where am I making money? Where am I losing money? Let's talk about detecting problems with your business model and analyzing your cash flow in terms of opportunities and risks and things like that. So those are all signs that you may need an accountant. And those are things that an accountant can help you with. Another time that you may need an accountant is, let's say that you are putting together a business plan because you plan to make $1 million. You're going to be the first millionaire in your family. If you're putting that business plan together, an experienced accountant can look at all the different assumptions that you have and knit those together in terms of what we call a pro forma. Pro forma would be the future. And some accountants, I'm going to be honest, some accountants just are not comfortable talking about the future. It's exceedingly common because as accountants, our training, our education, our background is in being historians. But what I can tell you is the best accountants they understand how financial reports work and should look, which are all historical documents. Here's how you did last year. Here's how you did last month. Here's how you did maybe last week. If you have a good accountant, they can take you when you are working on a business plan, they can take your assumptions and knit those together in the format of a financial statement, like an income statement or a balance sheet, which is not historical, and this is where the comfort line gets crossed. This is how the income statement could look in the future if all your assumptions come true the way you think they will. The benefit for you is accounting is the language of business. So bankers, investors, other business people, they know how to read financial reports, right? They know how to read income statements or P&Ls and balance sheets. Some people call them balance statements, whatever you want to call it. If your business plan is put together in the format of a pro forma income statement or P&L and a pro forma balance sheet, is speaking in the language of business for your lender or for your investor. And then they're going to understand, okay, I see what you're trying to do, right? So when you're putting together a business plan, that might be time to hire the services of a good accountant. Another time that you probably definitely are going to need an accountant is when it comes to tax time. You can, if your business is a side gig, if you're, I don't want to diminish any businesses, but if it's very simple, if every month and every week and every day looks the same and every year looks the same, I don't know, maybe you don't need an accountant. But if your business has a lot of moving parts and sometimes it's up and sometimes it's down or sometimes it's sideways, and you just want to put it together in the big picture and understand what is happening and what does this cause for my tax situation. And honestly, for that matter, for my tax situation, how am I going to be taxed? I'm a big fan of understanding the game that you are playing. Have you ever been to Las Vegas? If you were to go to Las Vegas and sit down at the gambling table, and you were just to start, throwing cards out or picking up cards and putting them down, do you think if you had never played that game before and didn't know anything about it, what do you think your chances of success are? Probably pretty slim, right? I mean, it's Vegas. Whose odds are the tables in Vegas? Likewise, even the most skilled players, they're likely to not really win long-term in Vegas. So let's understand that. The other thing I'm trying to say about this card analogy is if we were to sit down and play a game of cards, if I set a deck of cards on the table in front of us, you might have a question. And your question would be, what game are we playing? Because if we're sitting down and you want to play Go Fish, but I want to play Gin Rummy or poker, the rules of the game are a little bit different. So maybe you've played some of those games as a kid, and if we sat down, even if it's been 10 years or 20 years since you played, if somebody who at least is familiar with the game, if they give you a primer and say, remember, this is the left bower and the right bower, and this is how you win, do you think it enhances your chances of success? I do. And so I'm a big fan of, at least when it comes to taxation, let's talk about what game we are playing, and let's all get on the same page and know what game we're playing and know what cards can be dealt and how you can respond to those. It's way better to have that training and that education up front, or that primer up front, in my experience. But if you do business for a full year and then go find a tax accountant, you can do things that way. You just might get some unexpected results. They could put together a tax return for you and tell you that you owe a huge chunk of money, or you did things wrong, or you didn't do this and you didn't do that, you did the other. Here again, so much better if you have the primer up front so you kind of know where things are headed and kind of rudimentarily, mechanically speaking, what to expect. Another time that you're definitely going to want an accountant is if the IRS strikes and you're being audited. That is a surefire time that you are going to want an accountant, because IRS is going to want to review either you or your business's tax return to validate and make sure that all the things on that tax filing are accurate. The process may cause a lot of anxiety for you. It's normal, because you think about all the power that the government has. Well, if you're working with a CPA or an enrolled agent, they're experienced with IRS and they know what IRS is thinking about and maybe the areas that they may want to talk with you further. And it can definitely streamline the process. Would you rather have an audit that's spread out over an entire year, or would you rather let's just get it done? Let's figure out if there's a problem and what the problem is, and let's deal with it and get the door closed so we can get on with business. That could be a good way to conduct an audit. And a CPA or an enrolled agent should make things a little bit less stressful when you think about what I said there. Do you want the audit to span the entire next year, or do you want to just get it dealt with and get it closed? Other times that you may want an accountant are perhaps if you're thinking about hiring workers. Hiring workers can be complex. I have other videos on this. Does your worker work for you and you alone, or do they work for 20, 30, 40 different companies? Because depending on how you answer it and depending on certain factors, that worker could be an employee or they could be a subcontractor. There's not a wrong answer. It's not that having an employee is going to kill you. It's not that having a subcontractor is going to kill you. You could probably structure just about any relationship the way you would like to, but what it comes back to, here's what the accountant can help you with, is some insight, some guidance. They may ask you some questions that say, well, it sounds like this person is more going down employee lane, or it sounds like maybe you could treat this person like a subcontractor, but you would want to make sure you have this, and this. And wouldn't that guidance and insight be very helpful up front instead of on the back end after there's a problem? Also, if you have employees, your volume of paperwork is going to increase a fair bit because you have to file payroll tax returns and make payroll tax payments, which would be at least monthly and maybe every payroll. So it's mechanical paperwork, but an accountant will know how to make that process flow. And they'll probably recommend a payroll service. Oftentimes, accountants have their own payroll service, which can be high quality. And then the same accountant that's doing your taxes is doing your payroll. And the same accountant that's doing your book. So there's like a three-way intersection there just to make sure everything flows really, really good. And that's from my opinion as a business CPA. So payroll would be a good time to get an accountant. Another time that you're going to want to have a relationship with an accountant would be if you're going to need a loan for your business, like bank financing. Maybe you're buying some very expensive equipment. You don't want to pay for all that equipment up front. It's something that's going to last you 10, 20, or 30 years. Why would you pay that huge chunk up front when you can leverage your business, leverage your assets, borrow the money from the bank, and make payments every month as you use that piece of equipment? So you have money coming in and money going out. And at the end of the day, hopefully you have money left over. If you are applying for that business loan, your banker is going to ask for things like past tax returns, particularly for the business, if that exists. Your banker is going to ask for financial reports on how the business is doing, which, again, an accountant can help with, both the tax returns and the financial reports. Your banker may also ask for what I was talking about earlier, the pro forma, the future, the how do you think the business may do in the future? And with all those pieces of information, the banker can put the report together and then think about the 5 C's of lending and think about whether you would be a good borrower for the bank and whether it's a good fit. But the help of the accountant, that's really is pretty foundational in this sense. Other times you're going to need an accountant is if you buy a franchise. There's a lot of different ways that franchise or I'm trying to think of the word here, a licensed business or a franchise business. Either way, there's often complexity that comes in the terms of royalty fees, marketing fees, initial fees, and there's ways that they should be dealt with. It can get confusing pretty quickly, and the franchisor or licensing company may require that you do your accounting in a certain way, and an accountant should be skilled at helping you put that together. Other times, coming back to our topic again, when would you want an accountant? Well, let's just say that you are getting this, you've had this business going a number of years, and you're thinking about maybe retiring in the future in 5 years or 10 years. An accountant can help you establish the track record so a buyer can look at the financial reports and the tax returns of the business. Instead of a box of junk that you pull out and you show a prospective buyer, here's how much we make and how we do. Imagine pulling out financial reports, income statements and balance sheets and tax returns. Again, accounting is the language of business. So any investor, any business broker, they could look at those standard things that an accountant can provide and assist you with, and it will definitely make you stand out and look successful. Another time that you would want an accountant is if you have multiple businesses, because when you have multiple streams of income, it means more documents to prepare for tax filings, and an accountant can help you get all those receipts and reports together so that you can file a tax return, and an appropriate tax return, and one that is less problematic, I would hope. And then this is something that every business owner hopes for. If you are in business and if your business is doing well, you start to get a little bit short on time. So that's definitely a sign. If business is growing and getting better, maybe it's time to have an accountant that can automate some of those processes for you. It's things that are done for you so you can focus on the business and growing your sales revenue and optimizing your business and working on the profitability of the business. Now, I would like to take a minute here and talk about, the way things are going in the world and with technology. We have heard a lot of conversation on the news and in different circles about AI. That would be artificial intelligence. There may come a point in a time here where artificial intelligence could start automating a lot of the things for you in the accounting realm. In fact, one of the largest small business accounting software platforms in the world has been known to say that they have one of the largest and best AI repositories in the world. So what does that tell you? AI is not losing ground. There's definitely certain processes and things that can be enhanced through AI. Sometimes if you're trying to, AI, I think currently my analysis is AI is a tool. It's no different than you go down to the hardware store or something like that, and you buy a drill and a sander and a saw. In the hands of someone inexperienced, a drill and a sander and a saw could do a lot of damage, right? But if you are an experienced woodworker, those tools can definitely enhance your success, and you're going to end up with a better product compared to hand tools. And I think it's no different with software and AI. If you know what you're doing, if you do an AI search, AI can very quickly assimilate some information from out there on the web and the internet. It can definitely assimilate that information. So if you, I did an AI search earlier today, or I looked at an AI search, and it talked about giving a gift of $50,000 to the kids. What tax effects would that have? And the AI search bot comes back with, this and this and this, talking about gift taxes and this, that, and the other. As an accountant, you can look at the AI report and you can kind of understand, oh yeah, that makes sense. Oh my gosh, that was quick and that was fast. As an average layperson, I can only imagine that you look at these, the response about gift taxes, and you're like, what is that? I guess the urban legend or tax myth out there is that if I give money to my children, that I get to deduct that on my income taxes, and that my kids would report that on their income